My name's Dave Dubeau, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Welcome back, gang. Today we got a special guest, Jeff Greenberg, zooming in from just outside of Los Angeles, California. And Jeff has a very interesting history in real estate. He calls himself a recovering syndicator. So we're going to find out a little bit from Jeff about the pros and the cons of syndications versus funds versus fund of funds, all these kind of things when it comes to multifamily real estate investing and investing in bigger deals. So, Jeff, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Well, it's great to be here, and I'm looking forward to this.
So, Jeff, when you say that you are a recovering syndicator, what does that actually mean?
Well, as a syndicator, I was the main guy. I was the main GP. I was finding the deals. I had teammates that were doing different things, but basically I was the operator. We would find deals. We would operate them. I would take care of all aspects of the deals. And we had to make sure that we made money for our investors. Doing the asset management, looking at budgets and all that good stuff. And,
so why did you decide that didn't float your boat anymore?
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And I decided there's a lot of other people out there that are doing a great job. I hired a lady to work with me that as my asset manager. And as I watched her work, I said, hey, all I want to do is find more people like her that are doing their own deals, and I'll invest with them. And since then, I've invested in 2 of her deals that she's the main GP, and I'm just coming in on the LP side.
Okay, so you spent quite a bit of time in the syndication side of things, trying to wear all those different hats and find the deals and manage the deals and all that kind of stuff. What are you doing now? What does real estate investing look like for Jeff these days?
Yeah, right now I have 2 funds. They're customizable, and we are investing in other people's deals. And when I say customizable, people can be in any of the different deals within the fund. Just because you come in the fund doesn't mean you're in every deal. You have to decide which deals you want to be in as those deals come in. And so people get to pick and choose and self-diversify.
Okay, so you've become have you started your own fund? Is that you're both 2 different funds there? And so that's the whole focus now, is you're a fund manager versus the syndicator. Is that correct?
Yes. I have both a 506B and a 506C, so I could take accredited and non-accredited, depending on which fund we're investing with. And I invest in other people's deals. So my main challenge is finding good quality deals that I'm willing to bring to my investors.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that sounds a lot less complicated than having to do everything before, which was finding those good deals, getting them under contract, raising the capital for them, managing them, operating them, renovating them, doing the whole cycle. Exactly. So now you're just really focused on the capital side of things, correct?
Yeah, the capital side and finding the good deals.
Yeah, finding the good operators, I guess.
The good operators that are bringing me quality deals, and then bringing those to my investors. Yes.
Okay, cool. So from the investor's point of view, the limited partner's point of view, are there advantages and disadvantages to investing in a syndication versus a fund? What's kind of your perspective there? What are the pros and cons?
First of all, typically your limited partners don't know how to find those deals.
No.
So they could go directly in if they could find them. But then again, they typically don't know how to vet the sponsor, vet the deal, to do the due diligence, to do all the work to make sure you're reducing the risk on any particular deal. So by coming into a fund, that's what I'm doing. I go and find the sponsor. I go and evaluate them. I evaluate the deal. And only when I feel it's a good quality deal will I present it to my investors. So that's the main reason, is a regular passive investor typically doesn't know what to do to protect themselves before they get into a deal.
Right. So we were talking a little bit offline before we started that one of the things that you like about a fund is it's better when it comes to raising capital. It's safer for everybody compared to the co-GP route. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Unwrap that for me, please.
Yes. There are people that want to raise money and they say, okay, I'm just going to be on the GP side. Okay, they'll get part of the GP because they've raised money. Well, there are issues with compliance that you cannot just raise money and get compensated based on the amount of money that you raised. A lot of people do that. There's a lot of people doing that out there. And if the SEC decides to jump in, that's a problem. So, because not only if you raised money, you would have other responsibilities within the GP. And also, you can't be compensated based on what you did raise. Well, through a fund, basically, we're raising money within our fund, and we could take whatever management fees we wish within the fund, and now we invest on the LP side as a limited partner, and so we don't have to deal with any of those compliance issues. We're all in compliance with the SEC.
Okay, yeah. So it's a much safer structure, in your opinion, versus the cowboy route of being a co-GP, just raising capital.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Very good, Jeff. So I can see the advantage from the investor's point of view. Talk to me a little bit about the whole fund of funds concept. So a lot of people have talked about that, but not everybody understands exactly what that means. What does that mean to you? What is a fund of funds?
Essentially, I am bringing my investors into my fund. Now, my fund could be a single purpose fund. So they call it a single purpose vehicle, or an SPV, or as mine is, which is a multi-purpose fund where I invest in multiple different deals. So the main thing is with the fund is, I'm bringing investors in. My investors are not known to the sponsor as well. So if you're somebody that's raising capital, a lot of times people will go on the co-GP side. They'll bring their investors into the main deal, and now they're exposed to any marketing from the sponsor, and you could lose investors. Right. This way, my investors are only known to me, and the sponsor or the deal operator only knows my fund coming into it. And so I'm protecting my investors. I'm looking out for my investors, making sure they're well informed and know what's going on.
So what does the actual fund of funds mean? So I see your fund is investing in a certain project as an individual LP. Where's the fund of funds part coming?
That's because basically we're investing in a fund. We're investing in a syndication. And so the syndication is doing a deal. It may just be a single property. It could be a portfolio of properties.
Oh, I see.
So you've got the term fund of funds.
Right. So it could be a fund. It could be a one-off thing, or it could be a fund of some sort. Right. It could be
it could be any of those.
Syndication or a fund. Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So when you're working with your fund, I see the benefit. That's really appealing, that your investors can get in there and pick and choose which projects they want their capital allocated to within the fund. It's not like a mutual fund where you throw it in there and it gets diluted amongst everything. You can kind of cherry pick which one you want. So how does that typically work, Jeff? Do your investors plunk in 100, 150, 200,000, whatever it is, and it kind of sits in there until you allocate it? Or do you wait and let them know, okay, we've got this project, now bring your capital to the fund?
Yeah, the second scenario is the way we go, is typically investors come into the fund when they see a deal that they like. And
Yeah.
then once they're in the fund, if a new deal comes in, they could decide to put additional money into that new deal. So their money is already allocated. If it's already allocated completely to one deal, then they would have to put in new funds in order to go into the new deal. But no matter how many deals they're in within the fund, they will get 1K1 at the end of the year.
Yeah. Much more convenient for everybody.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Very, very cool. So, yeah, it sounds like there's a lot going for creating a fund for capital when somebody's doing capital raising. What are some of the downsides to it? Is it much more complicated? Is it much more expensive to set up than a typical syndication? Do you have to get certain licenses or things like that to be able to do this? What are some of the not so great side of things when it
Yeah,
comes to starting a fund?
as a fund from the fund manager side, yeah, there are complications. Besides just worrying about the rules of the SEC, we also have to deal with some rules from FINRA, okay, which is another government organization that there are things that we have to deal with. Because as a fund, we are not actually investing in real estate. What we are investing in is a security, because the syndicator has created a security where they're buying property, and we as a fund are investing in their security. So there are a few other rules that we have to abide by, and a little bit of reporting that we have to do. But we're able to use some exemptions that we don't have to have any certifications.
Okay, that's cool. So a bit more compliance stuff, probably a bit more expensive to get set up originally than perhaps a syndication, a little bit
Yeah,
more complicated.
initially the initial PPM and the initial documents are a little more expensive than your typical syndication would be.
Right. So at what stage does it make sense, in your opinion, for somebody to think about starting their own fund?
Well, I think that anybody that has capital sources that they want to bring together, I think a fund is a much better way to go. And it could be that they just create a single purpose vehicle, which is just basically opening up an LLC with a PPM, setting that up if they want to do a one-off deal. If they're going to be doing a lot of that, if they're going to do multiple deals, then I would say to set up a multiple purpose fund, and you would have to have a specific PPM for that, stating, what you're able to do within the fund. And that's why it costs a little bit more. It's a little more complicated private placement memorandum.
Right.
But if somebody's going to do a lot of raising of funds, I would definitely go that route, mainly for the compliance issues, and also not having to worry about responsibilities on the operations, which is also part of the compliance issues.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And it sounds like it's just created a whole bunch more space for you that you don't have to, you can focus on one or two things versus 14 different things as a syndicator and an operator.
That's right. I'm focused on running my funds and looking for new opportunities and keeping up to date on what's going on each of the opportunities, and making sure I keep my investors informed as well.
Right.
So, and for the investors, they've got an extra person in between keeping an eye on things for them, and as well as the due diligence. That's the most important part, is the due diligence up front, but also keeping an eye on things as we go. And the other thing is because we're coming in with a larger amount of money, we negotiate better economics with the sponsor. And so typically what we're able to offer our investors is equal to or better than what they would get if they would go straight into the deal.
That's what I was going to ask. That was another question, is if it got diluted because you're a fund versus doing a straight, somebody going as an LP.
Typically not, because we're going in. Also, we have other associate fund managers where we do go together, where we could get a very large amount of money, and then we have a better leverage for negotiating better terms.
Ah,
But we
so
always
kinda
want, we
instead of
always want our,
co-GPs, you're going in as co-fund
well, we don't
owners,
even do
managers.
that. We
Yeah.
we get together when it comes to the due diligence. We
Ah,
get together when it comes to the negotiations, but we each come in with our own fund, our own checks, and so we're in parallel. At
yeah,
that point, we're more in parallel with each other, investing in the same deal,
yeah. Yeah,
which
no,
is
that's smart. Have you noticed any difference when it comes to explaining all of this to potential investors? You know, you were very used to explaining the LP side of things for syndications. Is there much of a difference explaining to people how the fund works?
it's a little bit different at first. You
Yeah.
know, they want to make sure that they're not getting diluted, as you said.
Mhm.
And we explain how we get paid, and that's something we disclose. As far as we have a deal disclosure, which tells them exactly how we get paid and how they get paid. You know, we all want to make money here, and
Mhm.
the main thing is transparency. That
Yeah.
we want everybody to know what's going on, and that we can, you know, get them, like I said, equal to or better. And in fact, there's a deal that we're looking at right now that there's a $250,000 minimum. Well, so we could get investors in the deals that they couldn't get into.
Mm. Yeah, because you can
So
pull
they
in
could,
and get in for 4 shares for $1 million kind of thing in that deal versus one
mm-hmm,
person having to come up with 250
right.
grand.
Or if, you know, if we have somebody that wants to come in with 50K or 100K or whatever, they couldn't get into that particular deal.
But through your fund, they can.
Through their fund, we can, because we're going
Yeah.
to come in with, you know, we may come in with 250 or 500 or a million or whatever.
Mhm.
So they couldn't even get into it.
Makes sense. Well, Jeff, this has been fascinating. I'm sure people are going to want to connect with you and find out more. Where should they go?
The best way is synergetic.ig.com, which is on the screen next to my name there. On my website, my contact information is all on the website and available there.
Beautiful. Jeff, thanks so much for being on the show. This has been great.
Well, thank you very much. This has been good.
All right, everybody, take care. We'll see you on the next one. Hey there. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewsyou.com.